Hello, this is Annette with Project Refine Life. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm here with a VR to Dani Mystic's Myclassics. Now, the Myclassics tag is all about describing either who you are when it comes to tarot and oracle, like almost like a description of yourself, your classic decks, or the decks that you turn to for solid advice, solid readings for yourself or for others. Now, I don't have such a clear aesthetic as Dani. Hers are just beautiful aesthetic. Mine are very, very different, but they all have a very similar energy, which I did find interesting when I was reaching for these decks. So I have the Gentle Tarot. Now, if you've been around with me, you will know this deck is absolutely everything to me. Now, in the 9 rites of the Munay-Ki, one of the rites that I teach and that is taught is to be a keeper of the earth. And this deck is a clear definition of what it is to be an earth keeper. To honor the earth, to honor everything that roams, crawls, or flies, or swims upon it. This deck is just so beautiful. The words, the illustrations, the energy that radiates from this deck, everything is just amazing to me. Now, I have told myself I'm not going to keep saying amazing because I've noticed I say amazing a lot, but that deck truly is. The Northern Animal Tarot is another deck that, again, I mention again and again and again because it's just such a beautiful, grounded deck. This is a Rider-Waite clone, but the images are so grounded. They, of course, are all these, I'm just going to call them animals. Yes, they have a, human body or whatever, but they're grounded. Look at how grounded every single image is. And then there's these deep tones. This is the first edition. I do also have the second edition, but I have to say that this one is so special to me. Between the linen cardstock and just the fact that I've bonded so much with this one, this deck is beautiful. Just beautiful and completely grounded with who I am and how I see the tarot and the way I describe the tarot. Superlenaris. Now this deck, I always say that this deck, when I ordered it, I'm like, it's really not my aesthetic, but I'm going to try it. And I am so glad that I did. I say this every time. This deck, what I love about this deck is that it is so inclusive to everybody. Everybody. So just notice the way I said that. It doesn't matter what race, it doesn't matter what your points of view are. Like, there is a way to represent everybody in this deck. I truly adore this deck. Again, there's like this right here. Like, this is such an accurate picture and description of the Ten of Wands, just carrying on with her load and just, going on. And this, I mean, this deck is just so rooted in just bringing look at that, just bringing everything forward and not only giving hints of the past, but the future, or the present, rather. I adore this deck. Okay, next. So those are really, really important decks for me. And then another one is the Earthcraft Tarot. Now, the Earthcraft Tarot really is a classic for me because this really taps into the ancestral energy. See right here, Cacao. I mean, I have a real connection with Cacao. I do Cacao ceremonies. It's very important to me. And then just all of these herbs, all of these hierbas, all of these medicines that my mom brought to me as a girl and that my grandpa passed down to her, just all of these beautiful depictions of who I am, really, of how it taps in to who I am, to how I got here, to to staying alive through all those illnesses when I was a kid. This is what got us through, because we didn't go to doctors. My mom used hierbas, so this deck is extremely important and a real classic for me to tapping into that ancestral energy and just being really true to who I am. Now, one deck that was so impactful for me was the Story Medicine Tarot. I have all 3 of the editions. This is the first edition. The first and second edition are very, very impactful for me in different ways. This has more of like a maiden energy, and then the second edition is more of like the crone type energy for me. Mother, maiden, crone is how these decks kind of work. And this deck is just, again, like total acceptance of who she is, of who she was, of who she's becoming. This is a deck of becoming and just finding acceptance for who you are, for what you've gone through, for putting yourself back together, for discovering who you are. This is such an important deck for me, and really is a description of who I am in the tarot and just calling myself back. This is a very important deck. Okay, another deck that really does tie into who I am, classic Annette deck, is the Tarot Yahali Iteca. Now, this deck is a Mesoamerican style deck, the Mexica type imagery and deities, and again, so important to who I am, to my heritage, to just tapping into that energy, working with ancestral energy. This deck is so important to me. And also, as far as tarot is concerned, there's 2 more. Tarot Avataria. I've mentioned this again several times on my channel. This is my Frida deck by Gabby Angus West. This deck is so vitally important for me. This deck is all about strength and courage and going on and not taking no for an answer and discovering who you are, what you like, what you don't like, what you're willing to accept, what you're willing to go through, and understanding the cost. Like, she understood the cost of going and doing what she did. She understood. She did it anyway. She was, you know, maybe not okay with it. Maybe it wasn't the way that she wanted it, but she did it anyway. You know, she didn't stop because of the challenges or anything else. She incorporated it into who she was, and she used that energy. She used that fire. So this, again, is a real classic for me of me continuing and being who I am. Okay, another deck that, again, is very, very important for me, a real classic deck for me, is the El Goliath Tarot. This is a shamanic shadow work deck, and this deck it just can't be duplicated. I can't compare it to anything else. The energy that it has is so deep. It's so deeply rooted. It really draws you back and makes you take a look at yourself. It's open and honest, but not it's not mean. There's a couple of decks that do some little shadow work for me, but sometimes can be really mean. This does not work that way, and it is a very important part of who I am and how I work with energy. Now, this video would not be complete if I did not include oracle decks, because oracle decks are very important to me and the way that I work with tarot. So again, the Dirt Gems. The Dirt Gems Oracle is an extremely important deck for me, very classic to who I am, how I read, what's important. This medicine, this earthly medicine, and working with it to not only cure yourself on a medicinal level, but on a spiritual level as well. That's what this deck does for me, and I just think it is so vital within my collection and also in describing who I am. Yantra Wisdom is another deck that I just, it's not, you know, I don't really see this deck mentioned really at all. And I just feel like it's such a shame because it's such a deep, beautiful deck. You have these yantras here, and then you have mantras and clear words within. If it does have a book, I didn't bring out the book, but it comes with this little mini guidebook. Oh my goodness. See, but the words are just so tiny. It's kind of hard to see. So I like working with the book instead. But it's just like the mantra, and within that mantra, like sometimes I'll just pull one of these and use that for working with my mala. But this deck, again, is so very vital to who I am and how I work with energy and just changing energy as well. Now, another deck that isn't really like, this is not one that I pull from as far as like pulling at random, but this is more, that's my little divider there, sorry about that. But this deck I work with just to bring forth the energy of the day in working with my astrology. This deck, what I do is I'll just pull out whatever the day sign is and the number sign, and just tap into that energy as I'm doing a daily pull or something of that nature. So I really don't pull from it at random. It's purposeful, but again, a very classic Annette deck. Now, there is another deck coming out with this same theme in mind, and I am anxiously waiting. I think it's going to be in April, so I will show you guys as soon as I get that deck. Okay, another deck that's very important to me and describes who I am is the Jade Oracle. The Jade Oracle is all full of these beautiful, beautiful deities from Mesoamerica. This is all of the gods and goddesses and deities, symbols, also tools. This is so important for me. This deck is just vital to who I am as a person. This is a classic Annette deck. If you know me, then you'll know that this is part of who I am and how I read and what must always stay with me. This is a very, very important deck in my collection because it really does dig in deep to who I am. Now, another deck is the Earthcraft Oracle. The Earthcraft Oracle, again, is another very earthy, grounding deck, and it describes just the energies of the directions of the elements. It's a very, like, it feels sacred in a sense. The descriptions within the deck, the illustrations, and the way that it feels is just incredible to me. This is a very important deck. Now, you know it wouldn't be complete for me if I didn't bring in the Reclaim Oracle. The Reclaim Oracle, again, is one of those shadow type decks. Now, it is different for me than the El Goliath Tarot, which is that shamanic shadow deck. This is a shadow oracle deck, which really does deal with these feelings, these thoughts, these emotions, these things that are kind of deep, but that you can work with. This is such an important deck for me and for the work that I do. So that is it, guys. I tried to do the talking really, really quick for you guys, just to give you a brief idea of what I'm thinking of, what I'm working with. And if you can kind of guess with what I was thinking, as far as these decks are concerned, they all have some very important things in common, which are this grounded energy, this energy that really does describe who I am, but it's very important to me to be true to who I am, to my ethnicity, to where I come from. And a lot of these decks have that in common. I think that's very foretelling for me. You know, I do a lot of different work, and so I think for me, a lot of the work that I do for myself really has to come down to centering myself and bringing myself back down to earth. So that's it, guys. These are my classics. I truly, truly appreciate you watching my channel, and I will see you later.